chime in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
I'm Paul B. He's Buddi3 Da Gawd, and thanks for joining us on this fresh edition. It is the 14th of October, 2024, and yeah, mid-month, kind of hump day month. I don't know, middle of the month. Got a
Kind of,
little time to raise the rent still. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
that part,
I didn't mean to
that part.
bring it up so far into the month like this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
a
No,
sad
why you bringing it
conversation.
down, man?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I just thought about it. I was like, yeah, let's worry about that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate everybody joining us today. No special guest today, but we will have a very special discussion. Buddy, maybe you want to tell them about this discussion we're gonna have here.
Talking about the
Coming up.
culture.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
excited about that?
I'm
You excited?
excited about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's some things going on, man. Just culturally, around the world, if you will. And yeah, we definitely want to have the conversation. Actually, you kind of tipped me off to something that I hadn't heard about the whole Olympic situation with the Olympic
Hmm.
breakdancing and again the Olympic competitor from Australia who was breaking. Who more and more people are finding out she was a professor. You had mentioned that has something to do with her thesis and yeah, it's very interesting. And again, as we were preparing for the show, also came across a story about UNO, and they're doing some things with their Black Studies department. Isaac Hayes is suing Trump, and I'm just having a feeling like, okay, we need to talk about Black culture and so-called Black culture, how Black culture is being used, how it's being abused in some ways, and how opportunities are being missed, man. Especially with the Olympic situation, I feel like there's a big opportunity that's being missed, especially in light of the news that breaking will not return to
Yeah.
the Olympics. Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's the conversation I'm definitely looking forward to having in the second hour, maybe kind of towards the end of the first hour. And yeah, we'd definitely love to hear your input on that, especially if any of you have any information, input on what's going on at UNO with their Black Studies, because I do know that UNO's Black Studies department is, it's something. They get down, man. Shout out to Dr. Kenyatta. He does a lot of work. I know I've seen him a lot of times over at. Let me know if I mispronounce his name. But does a lot of work with Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. I've seen him a lot of times bringing students over there, making sure some of the students are at least aware of what's going on. Um, in Black culture and the Black community at UNO. And then, of course, I do think that the whole Undesign the Red Line situation was in partnership with UNO as well. So, again, understanding Black culture, understanding Black history, UNO does, do a pretty decent job with that. So, again, we'd definitely love to hear anybody's input on that situation. But yeah, that's definitely a conversation we're looking forward to having today, among other things.
Hmm. Among other things, we do have some community updates that we'd like to start with. So we'll jump right
Yeah.
into there. And yeah, let us know if you have anything to add them to the Friends of First Sky Omaha page. And right now, add them to the chat if you're here.
Yeah, and definitely want to start off with a big shout out to brother Kasim, who joined us, I think, last week to talk about some updates that he had coming as far as the greenhouse. He's been talking about that, and Paul and I actually had the opportunity to go down to the land, the BAA land, and kind of see it for ourselves, put boots on the roots, if you will. And brother Kasim and old brother Kasim, Captain Q fashion, has again stepped up and honored his word about putting together the greenhouse and letting the children lead the way, as you see on the screen, putting together quite a lengthy shout out, even shouted us out. So big shout out to brother Q. We're definitely in support of what the BAA is doing, especially with the youth, man, the young men in the Urban Survival Club, as you see in the picture. Actually, the brother in the orange, I would love to speak to him if anybody knows him. Brother Q posted a video of that brother kind of spreading some knowledge, inspiring the young men, and that was a beautiful sight to see, man. So as somebody who has had several mentors throughout my life, I definitely understand the importance of mentorship, of men being men in the community, leading young men on the right path. And Brother Q is definitely doing that. And also giving back to the greater community, man. A greenhouse, we've talked about, shout out to Brother Rostakor, shout out to Malcolm X Memorial Foundation and what they do with reminding us of the food war that we have fighting in our communities. Again, North Omaha is a food desert. So any effort like this can go a long way as far as urban farming, greenhouses, and doing for self, man, self-sufficiency, which the BAA is all about, man. So big shout out to Captain Q and the BAA. And the partnership with Assembly of the Saints too. I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, that's where that greenhouse is, the Assembly of the Saints.
That's where he said it was going instead of the land.
Right.
But I'm not sure because this looks like a way more broad area that this has been built in than what's going on at Assembly of the Saints. So yeah, we have to check in with him on that. He's been pretty busy here too, traveling around. So we'll definitely catch up with him soon and talk more about this initiative and others.
Yeah, and can you pull up that post again? I do want to acknowledge some of the other people that he shouted out to help put this together, man. Because again, this is a revolutionary act if I've ever seen one. So again, as he says in this post, huge shout out to the Simple Foundation, also us at First Sky Omaha and Assembly of the Saints. Yep. So yeah, again, big shout out to everybody who's coming together. I see brother C Goswami in there, Anthony Rogers, right? Okay, yeah, teamwork making the dream work. Brother Sherman Wells in there as well. So again, big shout out, not just Captain Q, but really a full communal effort bringing this together, man. So big shout out to everybody a part of that.
One more thing, he's going to be. We'll bring him on the show to talk about the initiative. He gave you some numbers about like what it is we can actually donate to the Urban Survival Club in order to be able to cover a child, how much that really costs. So we'll be having some links to the Cash App and some things like that to do a little campaign in order to raise some funds to get a few more boys in the program. So
Nice.
that's going to be an initiative that's coming up very soon.
Man, beautiful. So yeah, big shout out. Actually, brother Anthony Rogers, right in the chat. Also giving a shout out to the Free Farm Syndicate. He says props to the Free Farm Syndicate who have been leading the way in spreading the skills/knowledge for urban farming in Omaha. It's actually the first time that I've heard of this, the Free Farm Syndicate. So
Yeah.
definitely love to speak to them if you have any connections, and would love to help make that happen. Would definitely love to have them on because again, yeah, this revolutionary act. Revolutionary act if I've ever seen one. Again, feeding yourself,
Yeah.
self-sufficiency, especially in light of, man, inflation and now tax, not knowing what's going on with the taxes. Hey, you gotta figure something out, man. So
Man, if we,
again,
we can grow our own food and if somebody can figure out how to make our own hot Cheetos, we won't need nothing from the man. No more. Won't need nothing. We
not,
never go to the store.
not the hot Cheetos, not the hot Cheetos, man. But again, but yeah, shout out to you, brother Anthony Rogers, right, and everybody involved with this. Definitely excited about that. But that's pretty much what I have for the community news, community updates. If there's anything else going on that's caught your attention that we should know about, definitely drop that into the chat. Let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. Always looking to find out about what's good in the hood.
Yes,
So with
sir.
that, let's go ahead and dive into the news of the day. Again, we do have a lot of news topics to talk about, some updates. Again, letting people know what's going on civically around us because it is impacting our everyday lives. Even if you don't chime in, even if you don't speak up, you're still impacted. So why not chime in and speak up? And a big shout out to those who did chime in and speak up yesterday at the city council meeting. Again, a lot of people coming forward and speaking up against what I'm reading. The city budget, 2025 city budget, as it has been placed. Shout out to brother Dewan Lamont Hayes for
Speaking up.
always stepping up, always. But yeah, as usual, fire and police has been put over the needs of the people, if you will, as if fire and police are the only needs we have, which is interesting. So again, definitely would love to hear your input on the city budget if you had an opportunity to kind of look into that, and if you made it to the city council meeting, would definitely love to hear from you on that. Also, again, we spoke to the Senator Terrell McKinney, put some respect on his name on Monday, and I kind of got an insight on what's going on with the special session. And now it does look like some kind of bill has been proposed. Again, as Senator McKinney told us on Monday, Governor Pillen really didn't have a plan. So somewhere between then and now, the legislature did come up and the revenue committee did finally pass some kind of minimum bill. So again, what does that mean for the future of taxes in Nebraska? Again, there was some 100 plus services and goods that are being taxed, and now I'm seeing headlines reading another 70 plus being added to that list.
Mm,
So yeah, some things we should look out for, especially you don't want to get surprised going to the store and finding out your goods are $2-3 more. So
yeah.
yeah, definitely want
Seeing
to talk
that.
about that. Also, in other news, definitely looking out what's going on with DHHS, as Senator McKinney calls them, the Department of Hell and Harm, and it looks like they're delaying implementing some changes that may affect the payments for our providers, for our childcare providers, which we are finding out more and more are kind of the backbone, if you will, to the economy. Again, if children aren't being taken care of, if parents don't have anywhere to take or place their children, then it's going to be hard to work. And if you can't work, then everything's downhill from there. So definitely looking at what's going on with DHHS making headlines again, seemingly for the wrong reasons. And then also another conversation. Shout out to actually Brother Marlon Harrison for dropping this in Friends of. Again, you can always stay on conversations that are happening in between shows there, but definitely have to talk about and address what's going on with those adults diagnosed with autism. Again, what resources are out there? Again, this is kind of wrapping into the whole bigger conversation about mental health. More beds, but how many actual resources are out there for people who don't have a criminal record or who aren't in that type of situation, just living life and needing mental health assistance? What about them? So again, we'll talk about that and more. As always, if there's anything we're not talking about, feel free to drop that into the chat. As always, let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. But again, we will have more conversation in the second hour, so look out for that. In the meantime, between time, Paul B,
Yo, yo.
what say you? Say you.
Man, just appreciate everybody that's coming in. I see Maggie Miller Jenkins in the chat is saying, I would love for city council in Lincoln or Omaha that actually stands up for the people instead of the institution. Says,
Man.
I have yet to see a governing body uphold the green spaces or affordable housing. Yeah, we have
Mm.
lots of needs for sure, lots of needs. So there's lots of things that we see here in the chat that people want to talk about. Anthony Rogers right in the chat as well, talking about, are we going to talk about this hateful psyops initiative by liberals in the Dem party trying to pit black folk against Palestinians? Guess
Hmm.
that's easier at ending the genocide and supplying the genociders. So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
still an issue, and Democrats falling short on some things. You had a thought there? I feel like I cut you off.
No, no, you didn't really cut me off. But as far as the Palestine situation, I'm hearing more and more about this, and it's not going to go away. That's pretty much how I'm feeling. It's not just going to
Mhm.
go away. I did see that the Biden administration did pass about a couple $1 billion in firearms and missiles and things going to Israel in light of possible escalation in that area. And interestingly enough, I did hear about Japan putting their support behind Palestine and really
Mm,
like, yeah, exactly. Very interesting. Japan as a whole apparently has voiced its support of Palestine, which kind of to me signals, international positioning and jockeying and countries picking sides, which isn't a good picture. So yeah, there's a
mhm.
lot more conversation to happen about that situation.
Okay. Right on. And yeah, so just to let people know too, we're gonna go ahead and go through the news. Just want to mention, if you have comments, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll get to them, but we'll have that further discussion later on in the show. So stay tuned for that. Stick around. Also, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. The best way to do that is share the show, especially if you're on Facebook or YouTube. Please share the show, and let's get as many people, as many voices in as we can. Also, thanks for everybody who's been putting stuff in Friends of First Sky Omaha, and also hitting us up directly on in the email at firstsky.omaha@gmail.com with suggestions, with your email addresses for the newsletter. Don't forget
Yeah.
the newsletter is existing as well. So we'll be doing the weekly wrap that happens at the end of the week now, and stay tuned for some more stuff that's coming at the end of the week as well. And thanks for everybody who's been noticing that we've been trying to put some more material out there, especially on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, like Mama God says, please like and subscribe over there. Hit the bell so that whenever we come up, you can join in with us, especially if we're live. So before we get to the next break, man, Anthony Rogers Wright set up a teaser. Said I think you're gonna see some big changes coming to the city council next year. My siblings, stay tuned.
Hmm.
I like when
Hmm.
I like when a man of action like that says something like that, something about to go down.
Yeah, well, again, Senator McKinney did, kind of remind us that there are some elections next year. There are some seats going up next year that we should be looking out for. It's not just, this year with the presidential elections, but again, your civic duty is around the clock, around the calendar. So, yeah, especially in light of some of the changes. Yeah, yeah, we'll see.
Yep. Buenos dias, Brother Pina in the house. Appreciate you guys coming on in. Fresh edition of First Guy Omaha in the morning,
In the Diaz.
happening right now. So we'll take a quick break, come back in, jump into some news.
Yeah, man.
Stay tuned once again. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here this morning.
Hey,
Feel good. Feel good to discuss some of these things with y'all. We'll
thank
be
you.
right back, y'all. Stay tuned. welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is the First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All B, but you got all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, and what we call monitoring spirits, the ones who will never admit that they're listening in, but they're listening in. Appreciate
We
y'all
see
too.
you. We see you.
We see you. Appreciate you guys coming in. I see about Black Dynamite in the chat as well, giving us a tippy top in the morning, saying season 1B is on fire. We're
Man,
trying to
thank
make it
you.
happen, man. Yeah, appreciate that very
Thank
much.
you.
Just before we jump into it, just want to remind everybody we are in election season, and of course, Senator McKinney is reminding us that we're going to be voting here November 5th. It's coming up. It's time to make some decisions. If you have some politicians that you think we need to get to know and have them on the show so we can get to know them better and find out where they think the best wings are and all that kind of stuff, then let us know who. Let us know who. As a matter of fact, we spend a lot of time with Senator McKinney and Senator Wayne, but we know we got a lot of listeners that listen that are around Omaha everywhere in different districts. If you want us to reach out to your senator in your district and let us know, we'll bring them in too. We've had others in the past, Senator Blood, Senator Megan Hunt, Senator Kavanaugh. So we've had some folks over before that. If you want to hear from, just let us know, and we'll definitely reach out to them and bring them on. So yeah, we appreciate everybody that is joining us right now, and everybody who's giving us suggestions. This is the conversation, so we take it all. It's just the two of us, so sometimes we're not great with responding right away, but we're trying to get better at that. And but keep them coming, keep them coming. This is the conversation inside and outside of this live show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Again, the whole idea of this show is to spark conversation and for you to continue that conversation with your loved ones in the communities, and just to spark the thought so the thought can spread and people can move by the thought and be inspired by the thought to do things. So again, we appreciate everybody who's thinking with us, who's conversing with us, who's joining us on this journey. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive into some news for the day. And I want to look back again, something we had talked about on Monday, some things happening with city council, and not just the poverty action plan, who Senator McKinney again kind of gave us some information on that, but also the budget, which is a big thing. How is the city spending its money? Where is it going? Who's getting help? And who's getting left behind, which it seems to be a big point of conversation. Again, big shout out to everybody who stepped up and stepped out and spoke up at the city council meeting. Again, happened yesterday at 6:30. Again, about 20 people, according to this Omaha Road Herald article, participated in the hearing in front of the Omaha City Council, which allow residents to voice their support or opposition to the proposed budget and capital improvement program. Again, Mayor Jean Stother submitted her $531 million general fund budget to the City Council and made it public on July 23rd. The proposed budget would increase city funding by about 5% over the next year. And Stothard also proposed trimming the city's property tax levy by about 3.3%, again, going lock and step or going along with what's happening at the state level in regards to property taxes. But during that hearing, multiple speakers did have a lot of opposition towards Mayor Gene Stothard's budget, pointing out to the fact that about 40% of the budget, the general fund, will be allocated to the Omaha Police Department alone, not to mention what's going to fire. Just Omaha Police Department will be receiving about 38% of the budget, which a lot of people called disproportionate. Teddy Morrison, who said increasing police funding is not consistent with reducing crime and encouraged the council to consider other measures like homelessness services and affordable housing to help address the root causes of crime. Multiple speakers also mentioned the lack of funding in the budget to directly address climate change, one of which Gab Rima said that while the city's climate action plan is not finished, the city could begin funding recommendations it knows will come out of the plan, like expanding bike infrastructure, public transit, and increasing pedestrian safety. Also, Trevor Towie, president of the Omaha Police Professional Firefighters Union, asked the council to consider more funding for the city's fire and medical services. Towie said data from the last 15 years has shown a need for more firefighters as call volume has increased significantly. However, the proposed budget does not allocate funding to increase the department's staffing, Towie added. So again, although fire and police accounts for a huge portion of the budget, it seems like police is always getting the nod. And again, there's a lot of feelings towards that. But Paul, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference between. I feel differently when it comes to getting money to the fire department than I do the police department, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I feel like the fire department got a lot of money too, in
Oh
a
yeah.
whole in
Yep.
an excess. could be that I live right next to a firehouse where if somebody falls on their porch, then they send out 5 fire trucks.
Yep.
But I feel like without digging too deep into what goes on in the budget at the fire department, we can always use that. I feel like that's a definite necessary thing to keep funded, right? And it's par for the course. She's going to always favor police and fire, and there's always going to be opposition. People say that we need to defund. Defund is still a thing as well.
Hmm.
To take some of the funds from that, put them in other places. There's been some changes made on some kind of mental health officers or whatever they were trying to implement there. I haven't heard any more progression since the last time I heard about this budget on any of those kinds of initiatives. So
Man,
more of the same.
like the cahoots type situation.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right. Right.
and actually, as I was reading a comment from the fire union chief, I was definitely thinking it makes actually a little more sense for those mental health responders to be under like EMT
Mm.
rather than the police. Like, why does the police have to handle everything?
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, that's true. That's true. I think there probably need to be some special training because there
Oh
does
yeah,
need to be
definitely,
some training in security when it
definitely.
comes to people who do that. And so yeah, I can see that. Um, yeah, it's a good thought. Definitely good thought. What say you? The chat definitely chime in. I see Black Dynamite is saying fire department is understaffed and has been since before COVID.
Mm.
Okay, some news. That's some news there I didn't really know. Appreciate that. Also, Kimura, let's see, somebody, Tony Johnson in the chat. Good morning. Says many of these issues on the ballot will be in the form of a vote for or against an issue or a vote for a candidate. North Omaha is still area experiencing steady decline in registered voters. Uh, yeah, definitely need to be boosting those numbers there for these things. And then Black Dynamite is also saying the police budget climbs by leaps and bounds every year. Does seem like that is the case. Does
Yeah,
seem like that is the case.
yeah.
Um,
But
mhm,
to acknowledge what Tony Johnson is saying, because I want to reiterate and kind of remind people when we talk about city council, we're talking about the mayor and city council can kind of be there, to where the people don't really have to chime up the way that they're doing if city
right.
council is representing their constituents. And again, that kind of keeps in mind that there is an issue that's potentially going to the ballot about city council and them having the right to vote people out. We should keep that in mind. We should keep that in mind, and also going along with what Brother Anthony Rogers Wright is saying about some of the potential changes to City Council, because City Council is really supposed to be one of those entities that is voicing the concerns of its constituents, of the people, and speaking up against what the mayor is doing with her budget, or at least being a voice of reason in that. But it seems like, again, as Senator McKinney reminded us, that it seems a lot of times city council responds to the mayor the way that school board responds to the superintendent.
Mm, that says a lot. Speaking of school board, Kimmer is saying, don't forget the OPS has a budget that's just as big. They don't even have a fire department. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. Yeah, we think about the city budget. We always reference that. We always say OPS got more money than the city. And
Hmm.
when you hear that, that's what they're kind of talking about there. So
Big time.
yeah, interesting.
Big time. And to kind of conclude this, big shout out to a couple of organizations, not just individuals, but organizations stepping up and letting their ideas be known as well. Representatives with groups Strongly Worded Letters and Elevate Omaha, they both shared their ideas for making the budget creation process itself more transparent, which is also an interesting part as far as, again, Mayor Stothard is kind of dictated, her budget. The budget has been out since July 23rd, and the public are just now kind of getting an opportunity to speak up, and it brings about how these development projects, we're looking at Burlington Capital and OEDC and their lack of public input. At what level does the public have input on the city's budget? And
Yeah.
you're talking about tax dollars. Like, what level does the city have input? How much of the city's needs are they even aware of and are considering when making this budget? And it, based on how it's going, it does not seem like much consideration, based on what a lot of people are saying is missing. Homelessness not being addressed, and we've seen a lot of movement with homelessness, encampments being shut down.
Mhm.
What assistance is out there? Housing, again, just in Omaha alone, about 30,000 plus houses are needed to actually meet the need of people, to have a roof over their head. What is being addressed with that? Also, Poverty action plan. We talked about this on Monday. There was a hearing on Tuesday as well, not just what's going on with the budget, but again, there was a poverty action plan hearing at 2. Did anybody make that? What's going on with that situation? So again, there's a lot of areas that the city really could have addressed with this budget that did not, and yet again, I'll say it falls short. So
Yeah, bad process in general. We're asking this question: how can we be involved in the creation of the budget and help make some decisions on what gets spent in the budget, not just come after the budget's made, give us a few weeks to comb through it, and then come back and have public forum to say what we like and don't like about it. That's not going to change anything after we say it.
right,
So,
right.
the process of making it happen in the first place. I'm always going to reference that J. Cole song where he said, "Why don't I have all the choices on the app?" If you're using my taxes, can you just put some choices on the app? I'll pick the ones I want the money to go to. I mean, at the very least, we should be able to have a more of a say in the creation of that situation. And of course, it would take a lot of people to really deep dive and look and see what's going on in the city on the level of what the mayor is supposed to be doing, in
Mhm,
order to really even understand where the needs lie and so on and so forth. And then, of course, it's going to be a political conversation as well, because of the fact that there's going to be some of us that want more money to go to police, some of us that don't, for a lot of different kinds of reasons. I mean, it's a process, and I can understand, not involving every single person in the world on the process, but there needs to still be some input beforehand instead of after.
mhm,
That's all I'm
mhm.
feeling like.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to acknowledge Maggie Miller Jenkins, her comment about why are we funding our oppressors? And she says, why are we funding our oppressors? Police have never stopped crime. Firefighters hit us with hoses during civil rights and watched our hoses burn. Again, Mary Jean Stothard is trying to increase the police force. If crime stops, why would she need to do that?
Mm, it's a good question. And that seems, and it seems to be the first priority every year. Tony Johnson is saying one action step is to just review the previous budgets, to see why some programs currently funded are not spending any money yet, getting funded every year. That's one step. It's also a step to look at the previous budgets to see what the priority was there. Each year has been more police funding
Hmm.
and
Well,
other things. Mhm.
that kind of reminds me, Brother Tony Johnson, I think you're on point with that because, again, per our conversation with Senator McKinney, that might be, and maybe we should make sure that's a part of the poverty action plan review, because again, per Senator McKinney, per the bill, the city has to review its poverty action plan every 2 years, which means how is the city spending? That has to be a part of that review. What program again? How often are they being audited? Per Senator McKinney's bill, maybe we should make sure they're audited at least every 2 years by the public to see how is this really assisting poverty? Because we know poverty is a root cause of crime. So at some point, the city has to be called out. Like spending more and more money on police isn't doing anything, and we
Mm,
have to have a mechanism to address that. And I think Senator McKinney might have found that.
there you go. 7:30 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, we appreciate all of your comments. We'll definitely talk some more about this in the second hour, get into a little deeper discussion. So please hang around for that. Do us a favor, share the show if you haven't already. Share the show on your page. We get as many voices in as we can, so we can have some more discussion about this and grab some more information on these subjects as well. If you have been one of the people that have combed through the city budget and you have some comments on that, we would love to hear from you. I know that there's usually some chat chimers that pull it aside and go through it personally in order to inform us about some of the things that they saw. So we'd love to hear from you on that. We'll take a quick break and come right back and jump into some other news. Again, you're listening to First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Paul B. He's Buddy the God. Stay tuned.
Hey.
Be right back.
Time to get my hustle on. Hustle till the break of dawn. Do whatever makes me strong. Worry about the right and wrong. Time to get my hustle on. Hustle till the break of dawn. Do whatever makes me strong. Worry about the right and wrong. living in the HIC. Brothers all surrounding me. Ain't no futures here. Just lives full of pain and fear. Time for a different stroke. I'm tired always being broke.
Welcome back. You listen to First Guy Omaha Radio. First Guy Omaha in the morning. I'll be Buddi3 Da Gawd. All of you Chad Chimers Ghost listeners, appreciate you joining us today. Today's show is sponsored by Drunk Ship Coffee. Definitely go to drunkshipcoffee.com and get your beans now. This is going to be whole beans that are coming from a single source in Ethiopia, which we've learned is the birthplace of coffee, and very superior roast. Definitely check them out. Black-owned, family-owned company, and out of California, and they will ship that to you along with they got some merch and some other things too. So definitely do that. And shout out to everybody who has seen this ad and been purchasing some drunk ship coffee. Appreciate it very much. Again, Drunk Ship Coffee, for those of you that are just listening, is DRUNKSHIP. So Drunk Ship as in put the P on the end of it. That's all I'm saying. Drunkshipcoffee.com. Check them out. Appreciate that very much. And shout out to everybody who's been hitting us up about doing some sponsorship on the channel as well. So now that we have, especially since we started the newsletter, people were hitting us up like, hey, what's your ad packages? And I've been very busy sending out one sheets of ad packages for this. So we'll have some more sponsorships and things coming soon. But shout out to Drunk Ship Coffee for being one of the first. And definitely check them out. Drunkshipcoffee.com. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, man.
7:33. If you believe in the concept of time, buddy, what's next on the agenda?
Yeah, moving from the city to the state, looking at from how the city spends its money to how the state apparently makes its money and where that money goes. Talking about the tax plan, to which actually Sister Stacey Jean in the chat says Governor Pill's great property tax plan should be called the Great Tax Shift, which she's not too far off with that situation, because again, a lot of changes in how Nebraskans are being taxed could come out of this, and most likely will come out of this whole property tax plan and situation. And shout out to the Nebraska Examiner, always on top of things. And headline reads, Nebraska lawmakers advance absolute minimum property tax package after months of buildup. So again, that is a huge change, really since Monday, since our last conversation with Senator McKinney, who again, man, in just 48 hours, if you will, or 72 hours, on Monday, Senator McKinney told us that there was no bill to debate. Like he said, basically, senators were only expected to go down to Lincoln, check in, and basically go home. But since then, there has been a bill that has been passed on a fairly wide margin. Lawmakers voted 34-11 to end debate on Legislative Bill 34, accepting a very skinnied down, quote unquote, simple version of the property tax plan. Again, and all of this occurred in a very quick time frame over the course of 24 hours. Lawmakers pivoted through various tax packages before landing at a consensus, quote unquote, that contained just three components. And that was striking contrast from the robust plan that Governor Pillin issued. Again, 300 plus pages in this plan. However, the Revenue Committee and others finally came to a very, very different situation. This new plan, again, included this new plan landed that could be the last train out of the special session, apparently. And just a side note, I wonder how much of this is, legislators just being tired of this and ready to be done with it, and them actually coming to a consensus. So just think on that. But again,
I can tell by looks on faces they tired of it.
Man, I was tired, boss. But again, the conclusion that they've come to is a plan that, again, incorporates three components. One is front-loading income tax credits for property taxes paid, so they appear first on annual property tax statements. That's about 50% of such eligible credits weren't unclaimed. So again, many households not actually claiming their property tax credits. But apparently something called front loading will assist with that. Also expanding school tax credits, which may be another fight. We'll see how long that goes. Again, expanding school tax credits to a total of $750 million in the next fiscal year that will grow in future years. Reminding everybody kind of in the background of this, one of the ballot initiatives, I believe, is also the whole school credit, tax credit, how tax dollars are going to schools, what type of schools, public versus private versus charter, all of that conversation debate is still on the table. And so very interesting with this change. And then last but not least, with this is the restricting of annual increases in property tax asking authority by municipalities and county governments by the state and local index inflation. So again, public safety services and the work of county attorneys and public defenders will be exceptions to this. But again, who gets what is definitely a big point of conversation. And again, the Revenue Committee voted 6-1 just one day prior to advance an expansive 122-page package. So still a lot of changes was going on. And as I mentioned, a lot of this could even change even more with several ballot initiatives that deal with this, as far as school spending and many other things.
Mm. Interesting. Tony Johnson in the chat says, "I'll open my open eyes to see Senator Vargas add his name to the recent submission. I didn't realize that he wasn't naming his name before, so that is news. And that's got me thinking, yeah, who backed this? Who's behind it? Who pushed this forward? And to that question that you said earlier too, like I'm wondering that myself. They ready to just be done with this? How did the compromise happen? How did it get to this point? Just since we talked Monday, when Senator McKinney was on, and let us know some of the things that like you said, he said there's nothing there. So how do we jump to this? So I'd be anxious to talk to him, maybe when he comes back on Monday, find out some inside information there on what it is that he had to say, or what it is that actually happened from his perspective there. And
Yeah.
here, yeah,
Yeah. Well, there are some comments from Senator Wayne in this, and I'll just say it does seem like I do feel like it is more so senators just trying to get done with this. There are a lot of senators feeling like this whole situation was really kind of a waste of time, and a waste of taxpayer dollars. And again, one of the main senators who opposed this plan, Senator Wayne, who said out of state companies would benefit from the front loaded property tax credits, while residents of his districts will be left out, is definitely not happy with how this situation ended up. He says that the minimum, policy, that the minimum plan that they ultimately came to was bad policy. Wayne went on to say, "I hope we can do more than just this, because this is the bare minimum. Senator Jacobson, and the bare minimum isn't good enough for my district."
mm,
Because again, the failure of all of this situation is, everybody did agree that property taxes needed to be adjusted. Property taxes needed to be addressed.
mm,
Property taxes are getting out of hand. Again, some of you chat chimers have even said your property taxes have doubled and tripled over the last several years. So it is something that needs to be addressed. But it does not seem like legislators, even with this bare minimum plan, have figured out how.
yeah.
So again, here we are several days later, several hours of legislators' time, several thousands of taxpayer dollars, and what has changed?
Yeah, we need to dig in and see. Also dig in and see who came out. So Tony Johnson's full list is in the governor's website and came out in his newsletter last night. 34 senators names in total. Senator names in total.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So
34-11.
yep. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who and why, and if there's anybody on that list that we ought to bring on to ask about that and talk about it. Especially people who were opposed to it before and then jumped on, which I guess that's all of most of them probably. So yeah, I would love to hear from them personally on that as well, and we'll definitely check in with the senators on Monday to find out where they stood on it. I like how this shot of Senator Wayne, the meaning changes all the time. Today it means if this session is a waste of time.
Man. And that's definitely what that face looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, to go through all of that and then to come out with the bare minimum, um, as taxpayers, how do y'all feel about that? Do you feel like you deserve more? Do you feel short-ended in this? What are your thoughts about, again, the property tax situation, especially if you own a home?
I gotta. This might be a conversation for later because I feel like I gotta look back at it now.
Hmm.
I'm back to feeling like I don't know exactly what's being said and done. I had a grasp on it, even like Monday. I had a better grasp on it, and now here we are again. So I got to go back in and
Changes day to day. Changes day to day, and quite honestly, it could even change tomorrow. It could be changed by tomorrow because there are some more debates that are supposed to happen today. To fund the new plan, lawmakers will consider two bills advanced from the Appropriations Committee related to budget cuts to the tune of about $139 million and increase fees. If those measures advance as is from the committee, the state will be on the hook for about $46 million. That's according to the chair of Appropriations Committee, Senator Rob Clements of Elmwood, Nebraska. Again, that number could even end up higher. That's according to Senator McKinney and Senator Wishart, as they and others are opposed to the broad, undisclosed $25 million administrative cut to the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. So again, still many cuts and much more debate to go on this. So we'll see how this situation plays out in the next 24 hours. So, to your point, Paul, it's very hard to kind of keep a pulse on this, very hard to kind of keep up with what's going on. Again, it started out with a goal of 50% property tax cut. That went down to about 30%, 35% property tax cut. And now, the goalpost moving even more. So definitely something to look out for. But the feeling about, the imbalance in this has not shifted. I will say that it's still looking like the little man, if you will, is kind of going to get the short end of the stick. And as Mark Manner is kind of saying in his comment, he says, did you see that Megan started a Pennies for Pillin fundraising to help Pillin get his personal $1 million in tax relief, as he's obviously hurting for money? Again, a lot of people pointing to that fact that while, a lot of the small person does look like they're going to get hit, Pillin might, weasel his way out of $1 million in taxes and, be able to hold on to his plane in the meantime. So, yeah, definitely a lot of things to continue to look at.
Yeah, brother Pena in the chat. Good morning. Says, I feel what they are trying to do is please their foreign-owned farmland friends and their shareholders, conglomerates. Agriculture is what matters, not the average farmer. Another thing to consider.
Which
Yep.
is an interesting point. Actually, shout out to Flatwater Free Press. I haven't even really put that series into context into now. But if you remember, they did a whole context about who owns Nebraska, who's buying up large swaths of land, and it's not your small town local farmer. It's not. Big ag is what's really taking. I think what it's been reported that Bill Gates is buying up like 60% of the farmland in the nation. Monsanto has, Monsanto is still running rampant. So, when you actually think about some of these tax cuts, and I do understand where Senator Wayne says that you don't want to start taxing food, and you do want to be careful about, how that, because ultimately that does trickle down to the small man. But you got to think, like, who's really benefiting from this? And yeah, agriculture is definitely, big ag is definitely something to think about. That was a great point.
Yep. Mama God is reminding us of Vargas time, but Wayne and McKinney did not. So just to reiterate what it is that they've been coming on here saying, I think it's interesting. Whitney Richardson in the chat. Good morning. Appreciate you coming through. Says, I think it is very Rob Peter to pay Paul plan that doesn't really work without Senator McKinney's plan to legalize marijuana.
Yep.
Most def. We talk about that all the time. It's the great. What did they say earlier? The great tax
shift. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, and we gotta, if that's how things are gonna go, then I guess we better try to keep up with what it is they're talking about shifting. So yeah, I was very surprised to see the headline this morning. We'll definitely have to now dive back in to find out what's going on if it hasn't changed by the time we get back on Monday. So yeah.
Again, debate is actually going to kick off in about an hour. So yeah, things can be different by the end of the day. I will definitely keep our eyes on that situation. But before we end, I do want to end on this point with Sister Whitney Richardson is talking about as far as the plan to legalize marijuana, because I did see that a lot of the ideas, a lot of the proposals that weren't really being acknowledged as far as how to help with property tax situation like legalizing marijuana or a few other things are going as ballot initiatives in November. So again, just reminding people that it's beyond just the individuals in place that can pass these bills, but there are some ballot initiatives that the people can directly vote on that will either go into law or won't go into law. So please make sure we're on top of all that as well.
There you go. We'll take a quick break again. You're listening to First Guy Omaha Radio, First Guy Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners, thanks for joining us. And thanks for all your comments on these subjects too. We'll definitely continue to look into these things. And yeah, And remember, election season. About the
Tis
ballot
the season.
anyway. Yeah, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging. The ballot or the bullet. The ballot.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. You just seen the first guy, Omaha, in the morning.
In the morning.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd. Like Ron's review saying, please hit the like button, like and subscribe. Guess we got to say that more and more. Appreciate everybody that's appreciate everybody that's jumped in, joining us on that, and on these subjects as well. So we really appreciate everybody who's chimed in on these subjects and done some of the research and looked some of the reports. Shout out Tony Johnson for checking to see who what the list of senators that were on that. So yeah, that's what's going on. He says also one point that's overlooked is that Pillin and others have mentioned the desire to grow economically, and agriculture is not that vessel. Nebraska needs some benefits to bring in money spenders. That's interesting. Also, just like Omaha, people are leaving Nebraska when they start considering school systems, entertainment, housing, childcare, taxes, quality of life, everything, on and on. So, yeah. And I know that's a thing too. I think I brushed over an article that said something about this whole property tax thing is going to be his political legacy.
I saw that.
Yeah, which is really interesting. The way that he's been pushing on this and the whole story behind it has been interesting. So where we're at, again, I'm back confused. So we'll have to look at this again and try to understand exactly what happened. I know that sin tax still is a thing. If it sounded like it might even got expanded. So
Yeah.
I mean, is there 77 more sins that we didn't know about? Like what I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I did see reports about 70 plus more goods and services, not just goods, but services as well. Keep that in mind, being added to this whole tax, sin tax situation.
Yeah, we'll have to dig into it. Ron's review says hemp is agriculture. Yeah, how far are we away from it? How far are we away from it in this state? Everybody thinks it's all about legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes, but most of the arguments here have been about hemp more than anything else, and then medicinal after that.
Yep.
I don't understand why they don't think that that's a viable option.
I mean, because yeah. Yeah, because you already have like your smoke shops, your 42 degrees, and come on, man.
Everybody already making money with this. Well, not everybody.
That part.
Right on, man. 7:49. If you believe in the concept of time, we really appreciate you guys sticking with us this whole time. We'll have more discussion in the second hour, so we encourage you to stick around. Meantime, between time, we did title this episode "The Cultural Conversation." We're going to definitely dive into some of these things, and it's going to probably start with some news if I'm understanding our schedule here, right, buddy? What's next?
Yep. So actually, I kind of wanted to say that cultural conversation for the second hour, but yeah, definitely big news was going on with UNO. But I wanted to switch from stay with the state and talk about what's going on with DHHS.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about service.
News.
Yeah, man. And we're talking about services possibly being cut. We're talking about programs being cut, money losing, and DHHS is definitely one of those departments that needs as much help as they can get, man, because it's been a crap show, just to keep it light, for quite some time, and looks like that is continuing with some of these new changes that are coming down the pipe, and apparently people are needing more time to get ready for it. But either way, it's coming. So again, if you are a provider or you know somebody who's a provider, definitely let them know that these changes are coming. But they have been pushed back, according to the Omaha World Herald. Changes that the Department of Health and Human Services has paused proposed reporting changes for Nebraska providers who care for people with disabilities after numerous concerns and complaints. The changes will require providers, among other things, but one of the biggest things is requiring providers to log their GPS locations in order to be paid.
Uh-oh.
More hoops to jump through to get your paycheck. The new date for those changes will now go into effect on January 8th to allow more time for implementation, as well as working with stakeholders to ensure a smooth transition, according to Health and Human Services news release, which again is good news because although the changes aren't very exciting, the fact that this delay is definitely good news because before people were getting sidelined. People are having to go through a lot of changes just to get their paychecks, just to make ends meet. Again, in July, Health and Human Services sent out a provider bulletin regarding changes to the electronic visit verification system. The proposed regulation said provider claims would not be paid if, quote, providers don't use GPS or an improved alternative method, such as a landline interactive voice response during a visit.
What?
Who has
What line?
a landline interactive voice response?
What's that?
Do people even have landlines? I mean,
No, I mean landline automated voice response.
interactive voice
Inter-
response,
Okay.
which is possibly more technology that has to be learned, implemented, takes time. Also, a part of these changes, that's not just it, but also provider will not be paid if they don't start or end a EVV visit at the scheduled location and within allowed geofence radius.
So they're policing where you're driving now.
Yep. The signatures of the recipient of services or their legal representative are not recorded in the EVV application during the visit as well. Also, so those are some of the main changes as far as, again, what providers will have to do in order to get paid. More hoops. Let's see.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I just I'm always frustrated. They're always in the news over some mess, and just making it harder for people to do their job. It's already
Yep.
hard. It's already tough. They already got too many cases, and now you gotta they gotta turn in where it is.
Yeah. Again, I can hear the frustration in your voice, but imagine those who are actually the providers and, having to
Right.
deal with this. And actually, this has led to a lawsuit on August 6th. On August 6th, excuse me, the Nebraska Association of Service Providers filed a lawsuit asking a Lincoln judge to block the changes from going into effect. The NASP is the state association for home and community-based service organizations that contract with HHS to provide Medicaid waiver services for individuals. NASP's executive director, Alana Shriver, said in an email to the Journal Star that while NASP understands the importance of accountability and transparency in service delivery, the expedited timeline for HHS did not allow for adequate development and integration of software solutions or the necessary training and practice for staff members. So again, just kind of blindsiding people and throwing more hoops in front of them in order to make ends meet. Shriver did go on to say that the proposed changes don't allow for any room for technological or human error. And when providers encounter issues, they are able to submit an appeal ticket, which Shriver said can take 2 to 8 months to be handled, which means that's 2 to 8 months that these providers are not getting paid.
Kimber in the chat says it's they won't just have to be learned; it will also have to be purchased. Talking about this,
Yep.
talking about equipment or landlines or whatever
Yep.
the deal. Mark Manor does say that he says we have landlines at the store, and I'm sure a lot of retail does.
Yeah, but this again is home and community-based services. And I know several people, family members that I have that are workers. They have what they call clients that adults with disabilities that either they visit in their homes or the adults come to their homes for visit, or there's designated areas. And these are just everyday people trying to help and trying to make ends meet, and they're working with some of the most vulnerable people in our community, and all of that is not being helped with these challenges. Again, this is more of an effort of trying to police and more paternalism, like you're talking about, and acting like everybody's trying to defraud the system and everybody's crooked, and everybody more hoops for a lot of honest people to get paid is what this ultimately is going to be.
That's what makes me mad. That's why I'm sitting here like almost breathless over it. I'm just like the paternalism, man. What? How is that gonna help the people that it's supposed to help? It's always the people that they're supposed to help that's suffering, the kids and the people and the most vulnerable people. They'll just suffer more that the people can't really like do their job without a whole bunch of hoops to have to jump through to do the job in the first place. To do the job, they already got too many a caseload too big to even manage in the first place. I don't understand what's going on with them. We've been talking about them now for years.
Yeah. And it
Senator,
seems like,
Senator McKinney is renamed the Department of Hell and Harm.
yeah.
What is
And,
there?
and,
What is the problem?
and I want to point out that this is the agency that deals with like the most vulnerable children and those with disabilities and elderly. They all have to deal with DHHS. And it just seems like there's always some issue, always something that's doing, as Senator McKinney says, doing more harm than helping.
Yeah. Appreciate your comments on this. This is something that, like I say, are continuing to talk about all the time for years over this. It doesn't make any sense. Maggie Miller Jenkins in the chat says, I work with in the field of disabilities for 15 years. That whole system screws all the people, those served and those serving. It's emotionally exhausting because they purposely understaff us to get the most profit. Each person served is no more than what's the rest of it?
A profit margin to those in charge. More beds, man. More beds.
It, that makes me think about like so they're running this thing like a corporation. They're trying to run it lean, mean. They're trying to have as little staff as they can and make as much money as they can. Where's that money going?
Good question.
What's the structure here? Department of Health and Human Services, isn't it a governmental?
Yeah. It's department is under the Pillen administration. It's the administrative branch of government.
Wanda Lewis in the chat also appreciate you coming in. Says we could be heading towards the direction of taxing some foods that people are currently able to purchase with SNAP benefits due to the implementation of sin tax. Going back to the idea of the sin tax and the situation with the with lowering the taxes, but it's to me, it's kind of all wrapped into one about the paternalism and just how they're acting, like you said, like with this attitude, everybody's trying to jack the system some kind of way, milk the system,
Mm-hmm.
get the money to the people, get whatever you need to get to the people to help people. Like, what is your problem? What is the problem all the time with this?
I'll tell you what their problem is. They're milking the system. They're milking the system. They're being dishonest. And because that's how they move and operate, they think everybody moves just how they are. And they're just in a race to do it better than everybody else. That's what it is.
Yes, exactly. Maggie Miller Jenkins says, to the private citizen that run these facilities, each owner of a business makes millions off of the structure currently. As to the private citizens that run these facilities, each owner of a business makes millions. Might be time for a federal investigation under the US HHS.
It's been time. It's been time for them to get federally investigated.
Yeah. Brother Pena's got some firsthand. He says, yes, as a nurse, I was always short on staff, and literally I had 40 patients to one nurse. That was my whole unit. Sometimes I had 80. The caseloads are out of control. Follow the money. I love what Maggie Miller Jenkins is saying. Now look at rich people. Look at how the rich people that own the individual businesses. Now, see, that's a factor I wasn't considering. The facilities are owned by private.
And they
privately
contract.
owned.
And they contract with the state.
Contract. Okay.
Which again,
follow the
St. Francis. St. Francis, how are these contracts being awarded? Who's making these decisions?
For those of you that were around when we were reporting on the St. Francis situation, you guys know about that situation, how messed up that whole thing was. It was messed up enough for them to take it away. For the people who making all these changes and jacking people to quit messing with St. Francis, they were that bad.
Man. Yeah. So again, I really don't
I'm
have
sorry.
any money. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just pointing it out, man. It just does. It seems like again more dysfunction with DHHS, and I think Whitney, Sister Whitney, you might be right, man. It might be time for some federal investigations
Right now, it's time for the second hour of First Sky Omaha in the morning.
in the morning.
8:01. If you believe in the concept of time, stay tuned. If you've been waiting on this conversation that we're about to have on these subjects coming up this second hour, that's where we're going to have it. So, man, it's going down. Stay tuned. We'll be right back, y'all. First Sky Omaha. It's happening now.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Second hour of First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
And we're here for the conversation. We appreciate everybody that stuck around for that so we can dive deep. You guys been speaking to each other pretty much the whole show too on some different subjects, especially earlier in the chat, going back and forth about all kinds of stuff. Kamala Harris, what's going on with the Democrats, so on and so forth. Appreciate you guys going back and forth and having these conversations. This place is for that, for the conversation. If the conversation is not happening here live, it happens on Friends of First Sky Omaha. And we appreciate everybody that's been putting stuff there. Mama God just dropped something in Friends of First Sky Omaha to check out.
Okay.
Where was it at? She said, I posted the list of 34 senators who signed the property tax. She said posted in Friends of First Sky. So definitely go over there and check that list out. And any other information you come across, you can put that in there too, especially if it's on a subject that we've been continuing to talk about here. So that's what's up.
Big time.
Appreciate it. Tony Johnson saying what I was saying before the break. It was not because St. Francis was so bad. It was because their actions made it to the public eye.
Big time.
There you go.
That
embarrassed them enough to get to get rid of them.
Yeah, do something about it because they knew they couldn't justify it. They just couldn't justify it. The whole situation just was obviously what it was. Paternalism, and nepotism also. But also, I forgot a whole point about the whole DHHS situation, and then we'll pivot to the next story. But I did want to point out, Sister Whitney Richardson talking about federal investigation. I completely forgot they were investigated by the federal government. They were just investigated by the federal government for how they handle those with disabilities. Like this very thing, they're actually currently under investigation, are currently being forced to make changes, and if they don't make changes, then yes, the federal government will sue the state. So yeah.
And they're just like, well, fine. We'll start tracking where people are driving then.
Man, exactly. We'll lean on the everyday people rather than just doing our job. So
craziness. Anthony Rogers Rice says Walls is coming to Omaha on Saturday. Y'all know what to do. What are we supposed to do? Tell us what to do. Walls is coming. Also, JD Vance is coming as well. So there's gonna be some vice president candidates all up in Omaha trying to sway the blue dot and all that stuff. So we'll see what's going on there. Tell us your take. Anthony Rogers Wright, love to hear from you. Like I said, this is the hour of conversation. Love to hear from you for sure. Matthew Miller Jenkins said they failed at that investigation. They failed that investigation. They failed it. And they told them they had some things they got to do in order to make some changes. And the next time they're in the news, we're talking about tracking people's GPS.
So there you go. Make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. But yeah, let's go ahead and pivot into the next conversation. Again, big shout out to everybody who's again letting their mind be free, letting their voice be heard, jumping into the conversation. And even if you're ghost listening right now, we still appreciate you. Make sure that you are at least spreading the conversation, letting your friends and family and the people in your sphere of influence at least know what's going on. Just a simple, hey, did you know such and such and such and such? Or have you heard of such and such and such and such? You never know how that might spark some interest or spark some movement. So again, big shout out. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
That was a lot of suches that you just laid
yes, such and such. and all that good stuff. But again, we appreciate you all for tuning in. Definitely would like to jump into this next conversation and reminding you we are in the second hour, so a little looser in this hour. Definitely want to urge more conversation, so let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. And I want to jump into this whole cultural conversation. This is stemming from actually several stories that I feel are kind of coming to a head that are happening both locally and internationally. Of course, talking about what's going on with the Olympic situation, a lot of memes, kind of that's almost a highlight, if you will, of the Olympics, as far as the Australian break dancer, if you want to call her that. I don't know if she quite, she studies break dancing, but
She broke the
being
Olympics with her dancing.
see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Mm.
But yeah, it's the difference between studying and being the thing. But I definitely want to, have that conversation about culture, Black culture, how culture is being studied, how it's being used, how it's being viewed, how it's being in some instances capitalized upon, and how it's kind of being wasted, I would say.
Mm.
And locally, we'll start there and kind of expand the conversation from there. This comes from UNO. As Channel 3 reports, UNO launches a North Omaha initiative to improve its Black studies engagement. Apparently, according to the report, UNO is the only university in the state of Nebraska with a Black studies department. Let's just start there. And
Mm.
now, again, the future of the program is being evaluated. On November 10th, 1969, giving the history of 54 Black UNO students protested and even got arrested, demanding the school add more Black studies education opportunities. In several years later, in 1971, UNO officially launched its Black Studies department, and now the program is created for all students to come together and understand the true history of America. UNO averages about 300 students in the fall semester that enroll in Black Study courses. The director of the Black Studies department says her goal is to get more students enrolled. Dr. Asino says Black history is an American history. Black people have been in this country for hundreds of years. They are a part of our history. This dynamic between us, between Black and white people, it's an intermix. It's the same history. The new program, which is being called the North Omaha Initiative, will bring UNO's Black Studies Department to the Urban League of Nebraska to offer courses to those in the community. This Thursday at 3, the Urban League of Nebraska is inviting the community to learn more about the initiative. So if this is something that interests you, definitely go ahead and check that out. Asino also is majoring in Black Studies. Says majoring in Black Studies is something he uses to his benefit every day, especially when it comes to educating those around him. And in this era of critical race theory, in this era of book, what is the word I'm thinking of?
Book banning.
Banning. I was thinking more so censure, but yeah, censoring, banning, just kind of the rewriting of history, if you will. In that era, yeah, it definitely should be looked at how culture is being used, how culture is being viewed, and on a grander scheme, that's how I'm viewing this whole situation with the Olympics and breakdancing in particular, because it is now being reported that breakdancing will not be returning to the Olympics for several reasons. Some people are saying that it was initially thought that this whole situation would be kind of more of an exhibition, and not really,
Mm.
viewed as a legitimate sport, if you will.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. And I've been kind of marinating on this conversation, and I do feel like there is a real opportunity that has been missed for a product of Black culture to be viewed in a positive light, or a respected light on a global scale. Um, I would liken, like, I would think, what I imagine, what would it be like if breakdancing and breaking was viewed, and especially b-boying was viewed in the same light as gymnastics?
I mean, to me, I think that's the reason why they did what they did. They were trying to put it in that same light, right?
I don't feel like that was I don't feel like that's what it was. I feel like it was treated more like a novelty, more like a side thing, more like, hey, we'll do this for some inclusion, but not really taken seriously. Um,
I don't know. I think that including it in the Olympics at all is calling it a sport that they're. I think they that was them making that attempt. We talked about this on Monday. The breakdancing has been global since the '90s,
yeah,
it's already been elevated to a global art form,
Red Bull.
right? And then all the work that Red Bull did as well. So them including it into the Olympics, I felt like was them trying to put it in a global in a different kind of context globally. That was the intent. I didn't really. This is the first time hearing that it was supposed to be more of an exhibition. If that's the case, then I still got my questions about, well, who made the rules and how did it get judged, and how do you win gold medals doing it then if it's just going to be an exhibition? They put it in the context of the sport, which is already a little bit problematic in the first place, that it got put in the context of a sport. But that's why it was such a thing for me. Like if it's a sport, then it was kind of a sport back in the day. When we were breaking, it was a battle. It was
Right.
competition.
Right. I
So
mean, so much so to the point where, in some areas at some points in time, it substituted fighting, which is definitely a sport.
right. Imagine Miller Jenkins in the chat says, people in the field at least know their judges in sport like gymnastics and running. The same can't be said for this event. Didn't feel like it. Didn't feel like they had. Where was the OGs at? Where was the people that
Man,
can actually judge it? Anthony Rogers Rice says the Olympics included judo and taekwondo, but no one referred to that as cultural appropriation. I think some folks just want to be angry at something. I don't know, bro. I didn't want to be angry at this
no,
at
I was
all.
excited about it. I was excited, happy.
Excited about it. Right. Um, Black Zam 09 Black Dynamite saying which I heard he said which I heard they were getting rid of boxing also. So what I'm understanding is that the next place that the Olympics are going to be, which I believe is LA,
Yep.
gets to choose what's relevant to their area as far as sports concerned. Sports come in and out of the Olympics all the time. They chose equestrian and a whole bunch of in baseball they chose a whole bunch of other stuff instead of choosing breakdancing. They chose not to add breakdancing in again this time. Could be the last time, because who the next city are they going to add it again? It gave me more respect for Paris doing it in the first place. Paris chose it. And so if each place can choose which sports they want to feature that's relevant to their area, then it's a little problematic that LA said no. Not necessarily the Olympics said no. LA said no.
Yeah, which is surprising in itself, because dancing. Shout out to Tommy the Clown. Like,
They also said no to boxing. Right. That's what I'm saying. So they said no. They said no to a few things that are questionable, boxing being one of them. In this next, actually, the thing with boxing, they're talking about taking that out completely out of all of them. So this thing changes, and I don't know how that has any bearing on what happened here, culturally. But because like what Brother Anthony Rogers Wright is saying, there's a lot of things that are happening culturally. It's all cultural. It's all cultural.
I mean, that's the point of the Olympics, is a cultural exchange.
Right. Anthony Rogers Wright says, as a New Yorker, I was pumped to see breaking the Olympics. Black folk have dominated that even since Jesse Owens decimated the concept of white supremacy right in front of Hitler. Breaking continues that tradition for sure. Yeah, I think it's more of an issue that the professor got so much of the publicity here, based on how it is that she came in and did her thing. Because there were great other, like we mentioned Monday, there were great performances. There were people representing in that way. So I can't associate like what happened here with the fact that LA is deciding not to have breaking in the Olympics. This is not the reason why. It wasn't because they felt like it was done wrong. They didn't choose it.
I would like to get into why they didn't choose it, because that is still surprising to me. Like, it's still very surprising. Dancing is a part of LA culture. Yeah.
Magic Little Chicken says if we start understanding, and pop locking too, like all of it.
Like, come on, man.
That's right. And pop locking came from the West Coast. If we start understanding the Olympics are our version of the Coliseum Games, it makes sense they would have novelty events to appease the people, wouldn't it? Good point.
It's a good point. Eddie
Williams says their breaking competition was completely whitewashed. If it has to be that way, it shouldn't be a part of the Olympics. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if it was completely whitewashed. I think, like I said, this woman who took the spotlight with her with her version of breaking, that, by the way, got 0 points.
Yeah.
And then came out later that she had a social experiment really that she was trying to do to 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 add to put her thesis together. Um, People actually sent me articles about the fact that that's the case. There's some receipts to that. And it was such a spectacle that it turned it into a thing. But we can't attach like what the reason for bringing Break It in the first place and the reason why it's not going to be in LA to all of my complaints, which is like about her and about the judging and about so on and so forth. It's still the fact of the matter that they brought it in as a sport. They considered it a sport. There's gymnastics is a dance competition as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
The ribbon.
yeah. So really, on that tip, I hear what you're saying about this idea that it's our culture that's on display here. There's missed opportunities to big the culture up. There's missed opportunities. Um, they make it a commodity. There's some times periods in the 2010s that I was feeling like, yeah, breaking is turning real whitewash. Didn't have the glory of the worldwide nature of it in the 90s. Like I said, that I was following Russian guys that were winning breakdancing competitions, the worldwide breakdancing competitions in the 90s. It
Mhm.
went global in the 90s. So,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm even thinking of like the fact that you brought out the whole, host city and the impact that has. And, I'm thinking of like Les Twins from Paris, like
Mhm.
dancing is a thing in Paris. So I could definitely see that. But to hammer down kind of the point that you're making with some facts again
Mhm.
from this article, it says even though breakdancing originated in the U.S., this is coming out of KMTV3, New York to be exact, Los Angeles, to Paul's point, did not opt in for it to be included in their 2028 Summer Olympics. The host city did, however, choose flag football and squash to make their Olympic debuts 4 years from now. Also, lacrosse, cricket, baseball, and softball will make a return. It says host cities collaborate with the International Olympic Committee years in advance to determine which sports to include in their program, in addition to what's called the Core 28 games. So just a little insight into the facts about how some of these events are handled, how these decisions are made.
Right. Cricket and squash are huge in California. There's teams, especially in Northern California. I know a lot of. I got family members of my own that are on cricket teams in Northern Cali. So so again, um, if they figured this out years in advance, we got to kind of put that in context. It's not because of what happened in Paris that this is that people have been saying that in the news. Oh, this is that now they're going to take it out. They done white folks in the ruin breaking, and they're going to take it out of the Olympics. It's not quite that.
No, it's not. But to your point, there is some feelings about how. And I do want to specifically talk about Ray Gun. Let's just call it what it is. Specifically talking about Ray Gun and yep, thank you. That's Ray Gun. Her breaking name is B Girl Ray Gun. But just the simple fact of that she's a Black Studies professor. This whole thing was a whole thesis, social experiment, and a culture like breaking, like hip hop, which is I'll be honest, is so important to my life, to who I am as a person and how I identify with Black culture. To see it commodified and
Hmm.
studied, and you know what I mean, that doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good, and it feels like being othered, and it kind of harkens feelings of former slaves being put on in zoos, and you know what I mean, like
Mm.
how we have been treated throughout history. This whole story brings up those feelings, and the fact that she has been now made the face of, and all of these other very talented breakers that are very much so part of the culture, very much so exemplifies what the culture stands for. She's the face of that, not them.
I
Makes me
mean,
feel some kind of way.
you think the world is looking at her as the face of breakdancing, or are they making fun of her? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't.
I guess what I'm saying is, when I heard that Olympics was like breaking was going to be in the Olympics, I
Yeah,
was like, okay, finally a part of our culture is being embraced on a global scale, and
true.
it does not feel like that's the outcome. It does not feel like that's the outcome. It feels like breaking has been made a laughing stock because of this one person.
Mm. Yeah,
on a global scale.
I can see you feeling that way. Yeah, and it is interesting that that something from our culture is being featured in this way. Our culture in particular, because there's sports, there's things that have come from Africa and different places for sure. Africa has dominated the foot races, the 440s and all that. There's a lot out there that has come from other places, but this in particular coming from our culture, something that was born in the 80s, 70s and 80s, so
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, it is interesting to see, I didn't think I was gonna go through all these feelings about it, all these different waves, like
Right.
I feel what you're saying. I'm still proud it got on the global scale. I don't think that Ray Gunn is the person that is the face of it. I think that a lot of stars are gonna come out of it. Uh
Let me
I
ask you this.
mhm.
Of the two gold, who can you name me the gold members, the gold winners from the men's and the women's competitions?
No, but I didn't know, right. Yeah. True. Yeah, but that's partly my bad. Like I didn't pay more attention to them and talk about them more and big them up more because I was so mad at Ray Gun.
That's my point. You're somebody who used to break. You are a breaker. You're of the culture. That's my point. It's the all the how great breaking is not being discussed because of this person. And I appreciate that she enjoys our culture enough to teach it, study it, but it's a distraction, man. It's a distraction. And I will further the conversation by talking about Isaac Hayes and again
Yeah.
how black culture is being used and what happens when we don't own it.
Yeah.
This is what happens when we don't own it. It's get used, abused, it becomes a laughing stock, it's not respected the way like it's just how it is.
Yeah.
And that just always seems to happen with our culture. So if you don't know again what's going on with Isaac Hayes, and my whole point about ownership, this headline coming out of KMTV3: Isaac Hayes' family threatens to sue Trump campaign over use of his song. Hold on, I'm coming. You might have heard it at the campaign rallies. It's not supposed to be played, and now the Hayes family and the Hayes estate is preparing to sue Trump and demanding $3 million in fees.
Isaac Hayes the third looked just like his man.
Man.
Just like his daddy, bro. Just like his daddy, boy.
Man. Yeah,
Yeah.
them jeans strong. Jeans strong.
Them strong jeans.
But
I,
as you see,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the man you're looking at now is actually I believe the executor of the Hayes estate. He has spoken about this lawsuit. But again, it goes back to the grander conversation that I'm having, and like to invite you all to about culture and how it's being used and sometimes appropriated.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to the Hayes family for standing up there, man. It's bad enough they stole your daddy's royalties and stuff like that back in the day.
Man,
Died with really no money. And now Trump going yeah, so shout out to them for that. I appreciate that very much. I definitely want to jump back into the chat because
Mhm.
the people are talking about this subject here, and I really appreciate everybody doing that. First of all, did you hear this story about Isaac Hayes? Trump using Isaac Hayes written song. I didn't realize what song it was until you said it was "Hold On." I didn't really even realize he wrote that song, which is dope.
Yep.
So yeah, and we've heard about this before. There's been bands like U2 that didn't want Bush playing their song. Like we hear about people standing up all the time. So again, shout out to the Hayes family for that. Didn't really know that was the case that was happening, but yeah, like Pops is saying in the chat, he said Trump did the same thing with Celine Dion's song, and she made a public statement about it. You got to make a public statement.
Hmm.
Don't use my track, bro. You got Ted Nugent and Kid Rock and them you can go out to their music. They'll let you do it, but don't but leave Isaac Hayes alone.
Man, Mama
For real.
God coming with some information. She says
Yeah.
the suit was filed. That is Isaac Hayes' son. Trump campaign ignored his request to stop over several years. So
Ooh,
now here we are with the lawsuit.
wow. Yeah, I didn't know that part. Heather Williams says they asked him nicely to stop using the song. He won't. Put it on him.
Yeah,
By the way, I showed that picture right there
and
because I've been telling
actually,
y'all about fan base. Go ahead.
man,
What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say the last time that the song was used was just Friday in Montana. So they're still using the
Ooh,
song.
they're still using the song.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
that's yeah, that's just bold with it. It's crazy. Yeah, what say you on that issue? Also, jumping back into some of these discussions on the stuff. Marlon Harrison says my thing is that we're so focused on the bad dancers, we didn't basically didn't focus on the good dancers.
Mhm.
I'm definitely feeling that same way as far as the breaking in the Olympics is concerned. Maggie Miller Jenkins says she can't even name any other participants. I had a name or two, but yeah. Pops even said I don't get why an experiment would be allowed in an Olympic competition anyway. Wasn't it an official event? Were there supposed to be media medals given, or was it strictly an exhibition? That's a good question. Were there medals given? I didn't see
Yeah.
the medal ceremony. Okay, so it was this.
Yeah. People
It
want
wasn't an
gold.
exhibition. Yeah, there was rules and judges and elimination, all kinds of stuff. It was
Yeah.
a sport.
The whole
Um,
process.
and the experiment was something that was she didn't that wasn't something that she put out there. They showed footage of her being qualified in Australia to be able to go to the Olympics. And then I don't know what process you have to be able to qualify for the Olympics, but apparently she made it.
Yeah.
And then it came out later that it was she's a professor of cultural movement. That's her degree. And so yes, to your point too, we talk about this all the time. I remember sitting in the hi-fi house with Kate Deso talking about these things. Black folks will make something, invent the thing. White folks will come in and try to study how that thing got done and turn it into a science and write it down and break it down note for note and swoop for swoop and figure it out and then take it and run with it. While black folks have moved on to creating something else. So black folks invented the blues. After the blues, they moved on to rock and roll. They moved on to they just moved on. White folks still studying every little lick about the blues and still playing blues and still had, and more importantly, building a whole industry around it and making all the money from it and doing all the things. So, so, so that was an issue. That's definitely an issue, and I see a place for it.
Mhm.
On my side of the argument was I see a place for it. I see a place for it. Yeah, let's move. We gonna move on and invent the next thing. Y'all go ahead and study it and break it down and turn it into a science and do this and that. If the only problem I got with it is when they make a bunch of money from it and then they don't hook up the originators of it, which happens all the time.
Yeah.
But I do
It's
think there's a place for other cultures to come in and study it and break it down and turn it into a sport, turn it into a science.
right. Which is why I was excited about Breaking being on the Olympic. But again, as you said, where's Turbo? Where's the originators? Where's it always seems like they're being left out.
Yeah,
Even with the Isaac Hayes situation. Trump, y'all got billions, y'all got millions. Pay the Hayes family
come on, man.
for the use of the song.
Or does he have millions? We might be lying about that.
Yeah.
He might be jiving too. Anthony Rogers Wright said this is especially true of jazz. When our people invented jazz, there were no music schools, only the school of feel and swing. White folks come in and
Yeah.
note for note
Didn't
and
even call it jazz.
invented symbols and things that represented certain types of movements on the instruments and all kinds of stuff in order for them to master it. Now you see a group like Damian Beck who are
Yeah.
mastering every lick. You know what I'm saying? Check out Dami and JD Beck, the two young folks that have started from the science of jazz to be
Mhm.
jazz artists.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. Um,
Man, Tanaya Patterson
where's she at? Oh, there she is.
at the
Yeah.
top.
Well, good morning. Good morning. She says, when making a mockery or engaging with disrespect is how cultural appropriation has always been described. We see time and again which racial and ethnic classifications respect cultural aspects foreign to them, and which racial white classification respect.
Doesn't.
Say again. Doesn't.
Doesn't. You can
Right, man. Do you feel like she was disrespecting it on purpose, or was she trying to do something? Because my vibe was, you know how like you see like white folks trying to do something, and
Mhm.
you're like, oh, you look silly doing that. It ain't for you. But they be really like thinking that they down. You know what I'm saying? Like not that not that they was coming in mocking nothing. They just
Yeah, just trying
it looks
to
like a mockery when they do it because it wasn't for them. It didn't originate for them. I saw a B-boy on the news yesterday. He was like, when I grab my crotch and come at you because I'm, like I'm saying F you, that's breaking. That's not for the Olympics. It's like, that's what we feeling like now. They've taken it and they've made it a thing, and they've taken some of they've sanitized some of it so that you can so it can be on the world stage. Tanaya Patterson says, when making a mockery or
we
I'm
just
sorry,
read that,
we just read that one yet.
but she says on purpose.
There it is. That's what came in. Yeah. What do you feel like?
I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think it was on purpose.
Pop said, well, she was serious. And no disrespect. It's just the best she could do.
Yeah.
She was trying something new. Come on now. I can dance. Judy Prinzer in the chat with the new hip, like let's get down there.
Yeah.
Mark Matter too. He said she knew what she was doing. There's more to it than what we were seeing. She's going to the bank of all this. By the way, Houston Alexander came in on the conversation. We were talking about this a few days back, and he was like that. He goes, all this negativity, you can keep it if you want to. That woman is laughing all the way to the bank for real.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, man. I don't like it.
Black Dynamite in the chat saying, Paul, what tripped me out is seeing Asian cats on YouTube playing gospel chops. I mean, this happens all over the place, man.
Oh yeah,
and because it's been so studied, it is studied out of reverence. Like that's the point that I'm trying to make. There's a place for it for white folks to come back in. Black folks are coming out of feel and swing, like Anthony Rogers Wright says. Don't even know what they're playing. A lot of cats are invented jazz, didn't even read music. And white folks came in and notated everything, and like I said, made up symbols and all kinds of stuff in order to be able to translate that, and translated it perfectly, mimicked it perfectly. You don't mimic stuff perfectly if you don't have respect and love for it. Sometimes it don't come across, but sometimes it does. And like I said, my biggest problem with it is the fact that they turn into an industry, make a bunch of money off of it, and then don't pay the originators. But here we are. Have they done this with breaking? Like I said, her thing to me is separate from the conversation. Except for the fact, like what you said, do we even know any other breakers in the Olympics besides Ray Gun? Nah, we don't. So makes sense. I understand what you're saying. And in the grand conversation about our culture, and our culture being bought and sold, and our culture not being controlled by us a lot of times, and so on. It's part of the conversation. I don't quite feel like what happened at the Olympics with breaking was us being mocked or was our culture being stolen.
No,
it's misrepresented at best because of this, whatever this thing was that happened that took the spotlight. But we're a media company and we deal in media, and that's enough. You know what I'm saying? Like we also are going to highlight the crazy part about the situation. I mean,
Yep.
I did my best to try to bring in a couple of the breakers that were, we spoke on a couple of the breakers that were in the competition. But there was still a lot of other stuff, man. We didn't even talk about all the rest of it. We didn't talk about like the white girl with the do-rag on and all the other. There was some more other stuff that was going down there that was a little bit like, okay, we gotta deal with some of this because the world has taken this now.
I see that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
There was a few things. There was a few things besides Ray Gun that went down and is making people feel a certain kind of way about it. But I'm trying to take the blame off. I'm trying to, except for Ray Gun, trying to take the blame off the dancers.
Oh yeah.
More so like with the way that the judges were set up and the rules were set up and all those things.
I see that. The structure of it in total. I do want to acknowledge though. I do, I really did appreciate and enjoy the men's gold round in the Olympics. Shout out to, those who actually took home the gold and got some points. So shout out to them. And ultimately, I don't ultimately I would say with this whole Olympic situation and just a grander conversation about culture that we're having right now is I feel like the Olympics was a missed opportunity. And I do feel like, things like hip hop being taught at MIT, hip hop being taught at Harvard, breakdancing being looked at as on the same level as gymnastics and the defying of gravity that is breakdancing at its highest
Mhm.
levels is
Right.
not being appreciated, and ultimately meaning Black culture is not being appreciated in the way that it should, and that's my problem.
But what happens if you try to say, okay, let's put some stuff in place here in order to make sure that Black studies is there for folks that want to study it like my man's here? It's going to be lost in translation a little bit, whatever's happening. But does that mean we shouldn't have it out there for people to study? What does it look like in the end after it's being
No,
studied?
I I think it should be studied. The studying of it is in the place of the appreciation. Like, that's a part of the appreciation of it. But again, when
Yeah,
it reaches level of mockery,
yeah.
it's a problem.
Okay, I feel you. Heather Williams said she knew she couldn't break. People still feeling like it's mockery. You know what I'm saying? Pop says, well, they do have kangaroos in Australia.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, he also says, Paul, I agree. It's because they love what they see and hear. Yeah, I mean that's the reason why you would get into it in the first place. But it don't be for them sometimes, and that's what's up. Imagine Miller Jenkins says, yeah, the do rag girl won gold.
Hmm.
I I saw I saw some funny memes on there like, yeah, you can go ahead and snatch that do rag off. You ain't gonna see no waves up under there. Heather Williams is right. They made an event halfway. Did it?
Pretty
Yeah,
much. Pretty
pretty
much.
much.
Pretty much.
Appreciate
But
everybody. Go ahead.
to end off to your point, I still would urge people, if you are interested in Black studies, Black culture, Black history, check it out this Thursday at the Urban League. Again, they've teamed up with UNO to have a kind of an explanation of the new North Omaha Initiative program from the Black Studies Department at UNO. So yeah, if you are interested, want to learn more, check it out.
And consider this when you do, because every time you say they're doing this through the Urban League, it makes me think. So who is this for? What is Black study? Who is Black studies for? Black people or everybody else? Where should it be directed?
You tell me, man. I'm not even gonna
I
go as far
mean,
as to say who is it for, who's it not for. All I'm gonna say is if you're interested, come check it out, but please do so respectfully. When you
yeah.
come into other people's house, maybe take your shoes off.
Maybe take your shoes off. When making a mockery or engaging in disrespect is how cultural appropriation has always been described. We see time and time again which racial and ethnic classifications respect culture aspects foreign to them and which racial white classification doesn't on purpose. It's still that's still the highlight of this conversation for me right there. We're gonna take a quick break and come right back. Again, you're listening to First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Culture conversation is happening now. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, you the chat chimers. Appreciate you guys tuning in, having these conversations. We'll be right back. Let's do a little Jamaican appropriate culture appropriation right now. Right near the beach. We're going.
Right near the beach.
Button wasn't working. Welcome back. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, how y'all doing? Appreciate you very much. And I appreciate everybody who's joined in this conversation, man. We have a lot of people that are seeing what's going on here. I love it. What you got going on here, buddy?
Man, I just want to share something funny real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Kind of this whole conversation about Coco. Just check this out.
That's really cool, man.
Imposter, I'm just a middle-class worker from Toronto. In spite of how I sound, single one platinum bigger than Marley and Jimmy and Yellowman, but I'm not even mulatto. My reggae's watered down. Hear me on the radio, think I could not be blacker, but on my video you see I'm really a cracker, pretending I was a rasta since I was in jammies. I should pay my face and start belting out Mary. You can criticize me all the way to the bank. My single number one and Shabba don't rank. Time Warner kick dice off the label for this in the cops. They said it just ain't right. But when a Caucasian man records a carpeting song, they don't have a problem. Must be an oversight. All the Jamaicans think I gave them a bum scare, but everything I know I learned from an auctioneer. The bidding will start at 7 for this here go gang. 8 do I hear 8, 9 who'll give me 10? I got 10 going once, going twice sold. I can spout gibberish and it'll go gold. I am what I am and that's all that I am. A skitty button up the boo.
All right, I'm done.
Jim Carrey is a fool. Boy, I miss A Living Color. They told all the truth. You couldn't have a story like that today.
Again, this conversation is not a new conversation. This conversation has been going on, and yeah.
Hey, I don't want to pat. The rest of my ears are bleeding. Yeah, man. I don't want to pass up Miss Terry Crawford's post from earlier. She says both. You would be astonished at how much Black history is not in the curriculum, which equates to huge knowledge gaps.
Yep.
Man. I feel like there's gonna be lost in translations because it might not be gaps in the education. It'll be gaps in the understanding, and then it'll be gaps in the way it's reiterated. I want to see cats like this get some Black studies, but after all the levels, after the game of telephone that happens, how's he explaining it? What's you know what I'm saying? Like what's happening what's happening to the culture in the end? How's it being interpreted and understood in the end? So yeah, big questions. Before we go any further, I just wanted to give a shout out to Ashley Spivey, who is running for District 2. Which district?
13.
13. Excuse me. Yeah. 13. We just got a call from her yesterday. We're going to be working with her a little bit on trying to, get some awareness going on about the run, about the vote, and so on and so forth. So shout out to her and her camp for reaching out to us to help with spreading some of the word on there on that as well. So again, she's running for Senator Wayne's old seat that he's going to be vacating here pretty soon. He's endorsed her. And a lot of people have been really behind her, and she's been doing some great work, man. You've been seeing her all around town, and not to mention, this is the founder of IB Black Girl as well. So doing big things all over the place, and she deserves our support, man. She's stepping up in a real way and bringing her family along with her family supporting her, and it's great to see. So shout out to her for reaching out to us. Feeling like what we're doing is important enough to be able to help spread the word for her. And we'll be seeing some things from her soon and have her back on to talk as well. So, yeah, man, just wanted to give a quick shout out to her before we get out of here.
Big time.
You guys are having me. You guys are cracking me up here in the in the Mark Manor said we dissing snow. Come on, hey, bro. Jim Carrey said
right near the beach.
Jim Carrey said it, bro. That's what it is. Very interesting stuff. I appreciate everybody's joining in. 8:44. If you believe in the concept of time. Things from the first hour that we started to talk about. Again, like I said, you guys were saying a lot, bringing a lot to our attention, especially about the vice president race that's coming, and they'll both be coming to town. What do you guys make of it? Anthony Rogers Wright earlier in the chat was saying that he said, y'all know what to do. I said, what should we do? And now I got to go back and find what he said. But I think it was on the level of just kind of speaking up and making sure that we're using our voice in order to ask the questions and confront the people that need to be confronted. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can try to find it real quick while we're thinking about it. But yeah, what say you when we were thinking about those? How much is the vice president race? Is it important? How many of you guys do you like the guy from Minnesota? Kamala's pick, or how many? Or what do you think about this JD Vance guy? Is this something to even talk about? Is this something to even bring up?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm glad you're bringing it up now, because I will put it in the context of cultural appropriation. Let's just call it what it is, man. A lot of people view and feel like Democrats treat the Black vote as a breaker in case of emergency vote.
Mm-hmm.
And again, our vote is also sometimes appropriated. You know what I mean? The whole And I'll just be honest, that's my whole feeling about the Democratic Party. I'm not here for, I don't feel like either party represents us. So don't anybody start getting, because I'm talking about the Democrats, that means I'm for the Republicans. No, two things can be true. So just the whole kente cloth
Oh my
and the
God.
rotunda, hot sauce in the bag, Meg the Stallion. Like, come on.
Even
Come
Meg.
on. Come on. I'm not mad at Meg for getting her check, but that move wasn't in a vacuum. That comes from a long line of Democratic pandering to the black vote. And now, this whole spotlight being pointed to D2, which is mostly North Omaha.
Big spotlight.
Big spotlight. And again, to Brother Anthony Rogers' right point, we got to be aware of all these things and put it into that context as far as culture and culture appropriation and how the black culture, black people are being viewed, used, and abused a lot of times. And this could be another example.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that.
Brother. He said, Trump and the God 2024. Stop.
Man, says Gene, says exactly different sides of the same coin. Definitely feeling like that. Magic Miller Jenkins says Walls has a lot of issues to account for, but what helped him up against a clown? This two-party system has always failed us. For sure. They talk about him a lot too, like what he did. He's been in the news a lot for what happened with George Floyd and the Republican Party has been slamming him, saying he didn't bring the National Guard in fast enough, and that's why there was so much chaos in Minneapolis when that went down. He was the governor at the time. He defended himself, saying, I brought them in when it was time to bring them in. And Ben Crump and a lot of folks are kind of backing him, saying he did he did the best he could when it came to that situation. He responded to the black community after George Floyd's death. So we're getting the word from all different sides, and the fact that this cat is originally from Nebraska has been in the news huge as well.
Yep.
And they're saying this is the reason why he's coming back with all that kind of energy. So I don't know. Tony Johnson is reminding us that the voter registration, North Omaha has been decreasing in voter registration for years now. Why not focus on that? I'd like to see some numbers. We talk about the voter turnout and voter registration all the time. I'd love to see if you have any information, any inside information, any reports that you're looking at to see all that. I'd love for us to send that to us. We'll decipher. We'll look through it, and we got to see what's going on. We try to reach out to Preston Love's team over there at Black Votes Matter to see if they had some information on those things as well. Whatever information is there, it's not enough, so it kind of doesn't matter. We kind of just really need to push for the rest of it. Highly suggest you go to YouTube and check out the short with Terrell McKinney that we posted Monday. He really has some words of wisdom on how to really reach folks, especially those in our community that don't vote, that don't think that it's a process that they need to engage in, don't know nothing about it. You're gonna get somebody to vote. You're gonna touch them where it counts. You're gonna talk to them about the things that are affecting them personally. So I love the fact that he was like, "Hey man, especially for my brothers on the street, man. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get arrested for something, you're gonna have a jury of your peers if your peers register to vote. Those types of things. So I think it's whatever the numbers are, the numbers got to be better, which is what's happening. Anthony Rogers Wright says, please, Kamala is so uncomfortable when she's around black people. The receipts are there for all to see. Yeah. What's she going to do? That's really the question. Don't know. Also, he says Crump is a DNC overseer, nothing more. Man, you talking about Crump like that?
You talking about Ben Crump?
Ben Crump, the new Johnny Carson, man. What you talking about? Yeah, I mean, but everybody, I mean, it is what it is with everything. Everybody's doing some good work. Everybody got some other ties that they're questionable.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, I think that's the whole fallacy, and no, neither side is completely right all the time, man, but neither side is completely wrong all the time. Right. So again, that's the whole point of issue-based politics and not bipartisanism.
True. Very true. Yeah, appreciate that. I like how you tie that into the vote is especially Democrats. I see Democrats do this a lot. I mean, everybody does it.
Yeah,
Everybody, Don Bacon be coming to town when it's time voting season.
exactly,
Republicans and Democrats alike. So
exactly.
yeah,
But again, to brother Tony Johnson's point, the voters should themselves understand in that there is power in the vote, and being able to use that power with intent, intentionally, is a huge point. And again, we have that opportunity ahead of us now, even if it's not Vance or Walls or Trump or Harris. There's how do we feel about Dr. Jill Stein? How do we feel about Dr. Cornel West? How do we feel about RFK? um
mm, I don't know
there's
about
other
that, but
options. You know what I mean? There's other options, and the whole point about this is understanding our power and our ownership. Even going back to the whole Isaac Hayes and the Olympic situation, talking about culture is talking about ownership and understanding your power.
there
And
you
do
go.
we own our vote? And will we use that vote responsibly? And reminding us that now is a chance. There is a national spotlight being put on D2. And yeah, and there is a conversation about opposition to that, as I saw in the chat a little earlier. Mark Manner saying coming in to get votes for winner take all when they get yet another special session for that, which is also
Mm,
hanging in the balance. That winner take all conversation is not done. It's not over. Once this whole property tax situation is handled, however it plays out, Governor Pillen has said that he will, or yeah, I think Governor Pillen has said that he will support the idea and bring back up the whole conversation about a winner takes all state.
yeah,
So,
there you go. All right. Like I said, appreciate everybody that has joined in on these discussions for sure. We wanted to jump into a conversation we had on the list to do this thing about mental health, about autism. We appreciate Marvin Harrison for posting that in Friends of First Sky Omaha. We're really not going to get to it, but I just
mhm,
wanted to say, just keep in mind, there's not it's not just about ADHD and autism and stuff in children, but also in adults. We talk about people, whole families getting taken care of here a lot, all the time. Families getting the support they need. But I just wanted to post a few symptoms of autism in adults may not know that they're diagnosed. These kinds of diagnoses came way after folks my age grew up. So we don't be knowing. We have to go back and take a look and see sometime. Increased
mhm,
need for sensory stimulation, difficulty with identifying emotions, difficulty understanding others' perspectives, repetitive motor movements or sounds, problems with verbal reasoning, sensory overload. I think Trump might be autistic. Yeah. But these are some things to look at. So definitely check it out. And here's the article. We'll go ahead and post in the chat on that article. And shout out to Marlon Harrison for bringing that to our attention as well,
mhm.
and everybody else who put articles in Friends of First Sky Omaha that we didn't really get to talk about as well. Definitely take a look at them. There's something that they're very important. They're relevant to the conversations that we're having, especially about healthcare and mental health here in Omaha, Nebraska, and especially. And yeah, we'll definitely do that for sure. Um, yeah, it's 8:54 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, you guys got any haps? Let us know. Put them in the chat. Also, put them in Friends of First Guy Omaha. Buddy, how you feeling over there?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Despite not having a guest today, I do feel like some good conversations were had. Hopefully, those of you, have some things to think about, to mull over, to talk about, some input. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, we did some good today.
Yep, yep. I want to give a shout out to Leia Keister, who has that Swing Left Nebraska podcast. You can definitely check that out. Good information on how the unicamera works. We bring on Senator Terrell McKinney, Senator Justin Wayne every week, so we can have a better understanding. And they over here at Swing Left Nebraska are doing the same thing with their podcast, really making it so that we get more of a civics lesson and more instructions and more kind of glimpses into the unicamera, which is a very unique situation in the country to have. We have here, so shout out to them for doing that, and I really appreciate that as well. And also, I want to say the Garcia families, please join us for a benefit supporting the Garcia families. This is a very interesting flyer that came our way by a chat chimer. And this is something interesting coming up on August 17th from 12 to 5, Hispanic Arts Center, Omaha, 3504 Center Street. These two Crete, Nebraska families were affected by senseless acts of violence. Together, we can raise funds to help them with their expenses. So check this out. More information. Casa de la Cultura, Omaha. I think they have some information there as well. And definitely check this out if you know about this situation here, we might have to bring somebody on to talk about what happened here because we haven't really heard about it until this came up. So shout out to I forgot who sent this to me, but shout out to them for making us aware of it, and definitely something to look at here coming up. Don't forget that we have the weekly wrap
Yeah, man.
coming on Fridays now. Definitely check us out. I appreciate everybody that joined in, man. We were turning over some folks. Folks were coming in by the hundreds this week when we launched last Friday. So the weekly wrap newsletter is going to be dropping on Fridays from now on. It's going to be a glimpse in some of the news, some of the things that we talked about here on the show, and some of the things that are happening with First Sky Omaha. You can talk to us directly. We're kind of fighting the algorithm, meaning, in order to get the word out to more people, we seem to get bottlenecked sometimes on Facebook and YouTube and these other social media outlets. So in order to prevent that, going direct to your email box, man. This is where it's at. So shout out to you guys who did that. If you want to send us your email address, go to firstsky@gmail. Drop us an email with your address with the subject line newsletter, and let us know that you want us to put your email address on the list there. And definitely check it out. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anything else? Any other announcements you think we need to make before we get out of here?
Yeah, it looks like Brother Anthony Rogers Wright is keeping us on top of the climate plan, climate fight. He says the North Omaha Public Power District Coal Plant Ad Hoc Committee is hosting our hybrid in-person virtual meeting with Omaha Public Power District CEO President Javier Fernandez. That's going down Monday, August 19th, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. At the Metro Community College Fort Omaha campus. Building 10, that's 5300 North 30th Street. Again, 5300 North 30th Street.
There you go. He said, let's shut this thing down once and for all so our people can breathe and live. Everybody in my family got asthma because it's send the message that environmental racism has no place in Omaha. I love it.
There you go.
Shout out to him. Shout out to Dr. Cornell West, man, that came out here and made a video. He was like, shame on you, Nebraska. You called him out.
Big time, big time. And also, again, reiterating the whole cultural studies situation. Again, that is this Thursday. There is a meeting at the Urban League of Nebraska. I'll try to get a time real quick. Urban League of Nebraska, who is again joining UNO's Black Studies Department to roll out the North Omaha Initiative program this Thursday at 3 at the Urban League of Nebraska is inviting the community to learn more about the initiative. Again, the North Omaha Initiative. I also wanted to acknowledge that Sister Whitney Richardson in the chat earlier says that her and Dr. Terry Crawford have teamed up and are still pushing forward with the Undesign the Red Line and will be preparing for another round of that as well. So if you have any more information on that, either Sister Terry Crawford or Sister Whitney, definitely let us know. She says, shout out to Dr. Terry Crawford and her Black Studies students. We just finished a project with her students and we're getting ready to start another one on addressing redlining. So again, big shout out. Let us know if the undesigned red line situation will be making a return. I think the exhibit has closed. So if you have any more information on that, please let us know. But yeah, there you go. Again, this Thursday at 3 at the Urban League.
Word up. Ronald Harrison said, did you see the Harris and Wills video I posted on Friends of First Sky Omaha?
Nope.
Well, that AI is out of control, ain't it?
Oh yeah, that song.
AI is out of control. That's hilarious. Rose Review says hashtag. He said we ain't doing good with the hashtags. We gotta get busy with that. So yeah, we'll try to remember that. We'll try.
Yeah, thank you.
And anybody wants to volunteer to help with some of the social media duties around here, definitely let us know. You can hit me up personally, or you can send an email to firstskyOmaha@gmail.com. Terry Crawford in the chat saying your facts, more to come. I love it.
Okay, yeah. Still upset I have not been able to check out the Undesigned the Red Line exhibit, but doing great things. Yeah.
Whitney Richardson, I spoke to her earlier too. We were talking about her coming on to the show and doing a little bit of commentary. So we'll stay tuned for her as a special guest at some point as well. And we really appreciate everybody who is giving us suggestions about some folks to bring on. So I definitely I put out the word. Is there senators in your district that you would want to hear from? I did hear Senator Conrad was one of them. Dungan with Wade about litigation for the people. So shout out to you sending us some ideas here on some folks to bring on senators in particular. Like I said, it just hit us that it's other districts that are listening to us too. You want to hear from your senator on some things and ask some questions. So we'll definitely make that a thing that we can outreach and see if we can bring them on to talk. So Appreciate it very much. And I appreciate you hitting the like button over there on YouTube. Thanks, Rome's Reviews, for helping us out there on that. Appreciate everybody who's joined us today. I guess we should go ahead and get out of here. Buddy, you got some words for the people?
Yeah, maybe just an idea, add to the whole senator situation. You know, it might benefit us in the whole situation as well. If you maybe wrote a letter to your senator, if you have a senator, that let them know, hey, First Guy Omaha is a great resource for your constituents, citizens to know what's going on civically. Maybe you should think about going on to that show. Just even letting your senator know that this is a resource that you feel is valuable and would like to them to be aware of, could aid in us bringing them on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that can go a
And
long
not
way.
just your senators, but people, city council.
Yeah,
Be some great folks to reach out
county,
to.
county
County.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got questions and concerns, like Michelle used to say.
yeah, man. Yeah,
We
man.
definitely need to have them on and have some civil discussion on these things. So
Yeah, big time.
be
But
good.
again, we do know that you're not just here for the guests; you're here also for us, and we appreciate that. As Pops is saying, outstanding show, felt like a back in the day show, and I loved it. So again, appreciate you, Pops, for the love as always, and appreciate all of you, all the listeners, ghost listeners, monitoring spirits, first and last time listeners. We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you, and hopefully we'll catch you all same time, same place Monday. Again, we are not broadcasting on Friday, but again, we are rolling out some things and working to keep you informed and keep you on top of what's going on. So do look out, as Paul mentioned, for the weekly wrap on Friday. And also, again, make sure you are liking, sharing, subscribing, hitting up our social media pages, mostly our YouTube page, because again, we are trying to do some things with that, and we need your help to do it. So again, please check us out on YouTube. Make sure you're hitting that notification bell. Also, make sure you email us if you're not already a part of the newsletter list, because we are rolling that out. And yeah, we're excited about it, and good things are coming along with that. So yeah, definitely check that out. And yeah, in the meantime, between time, Paul B,
Yo yo.
take it away, man.
Right on, man. Ron's Review says hit the like button. Please do that. Mama God says share, like, subscribe, and continue to keep the show alive. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
Rhymes too. She got bars.
yeah,
Our
bar.
community needs this. Ron's Review says have a blessed day. Appreciate that. Stacey Jean says informative show like always. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining us. Tony Johnson says, where's Ricky Smith? Yep, we're gonna have him on short soon too. Don't worry
Yeah,
about
man.
that. Mama God says, that's what's up, buddy. And Paul B, keep it going. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
And Pops again with the outstanding show. Felt like a back in the day show. I like that. Did kind of feel like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate all the love, and we want to give love back. So shout out to all of you, the Chad Chimers, Ghost listeners, and monitoring spirits that have come through to check out the show. And do us a favor, you can share the word, spread the word by sharing the show. You can do that whether you live or not. So later on the day, if you find it in your if you go back and check it out in its entirety to see some of the other things that were talked about here, you can take that opportunity to share the show on your page. We surely appreciate it, and share it with anybody you think would be a person that would enjoy this, or a person that would feel like it was important, and a person that would want to contribute. So we would love that. So please help us do that. We really appreciate everybody that has joined us and put things in Friends of First Sky Omaha as well. That's where the conversation kind of happens when we're not live. So I appreciate that. And definitely check us out on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. That's kind of where we're going to be centering a lot of the material that we're going to be putting out and stuff as well. So yeah. So again, thank you. We're going to give a thanks to the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. Thanks to our elders for allowing us to speak before you. And thanks to you, the chat chimers, allowing us to speak with you. Appreciate all of your comments, all of your questions, all of your insights, all of the research that you've done. Everything really enhances what it is that we're doing here on the show. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. You guys take care of yourselves. It's supposed to have some thunderstorms out here a couple
Yes.
times a day. Yeah, man. Yeah, watch
Actually,
out.
thank you for reminding me about that, because yeah, it's the reports are saying it's supposed to be severe. There's actually a couple storms that's coming, so another one, y'all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually,
No.
there's a flash flood warning being issued. That's this level of severity. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves.
Please do. I just dropped in the link to our Mailchimp so that you can get the newsletter. If you want to just hit that and just drop your email address in, make it easy. If not, you can send us an email to firstskyOmaha@gmail.com, and we'll add you to the list. So stay tuned for the weekly wrap that's happened. Is being dropped on Friday, and some other surprises, some more stuff too. And I appreciate everybody that's following, liking, and sharing what it is that we got going on. In the meantime, we'll see you again live on Monday, where we'll be talking to Senator Justin Wayne, Senator Terrell McKinney. And so if you got questions for them as well, get those ready so we can have a deep conversation with them. And I can't wait to hear some of these updates. What's going on with this sin tax and all
Man.
the mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We'll see.
Take care of yourselves over the weekend. We'll see you. Peace.
By the and glorious. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green. At the crossroads